So after all of the starter item changes and the blessing system, mages probably have the biggest difference from Season 4 to Season 5 of all the classes. For people who have been really active on keeping up with like Twitter or the pros or the pro community or whatever, or just, you know, the metagame of Smite throughout Season 4 and really Season 3 as well, you'd notice that there were always these constant complaints about mages and how they were too weak and how they really couldn't kill people that easily. I think towards the end of Season 4, you started to see mages be able to hyper carry really hard if they just got out of the early game. At Worlds specifically, mages had huge games at regionals as well. So I think this will just kind of expand on that, and if you're like a casual or ranked player, you'll probably feel a lot more impactful as a mid lane player, or as a mage player, I guess I should say. It doesn't have to be in the mid lane. So the first huge change is Rod of Tahuti, and Rod of Tahuti used to be that type of item where you literally had to build it if you wanted to do damage. Like, you absolutely had to have it in any damaging mage build. It was 3,300 gold, and it just increased the hell out of your magical power, and if you didn't have it, you basically weren't killing people. So they've basically removed that necessity. And now Rod is 3,000 gold. It has 25 more power, but instead of increasing your magical power by, I think it used to be 25%, it is you gain 25% additional magical power against targets below 50% health. So it's not going to make you have more power at all times, but it will give you a lot more burst or a lot more damage against targets below 50. So for example, if you are a dot character and you're just ticking people down, once they get below 50, your dots will hit a lot harder. That could be very strong. Stuff like Anubis, I think, can get people below 50 and then just basically kill them instantly with this. Overall, it is definitely a weaker item, but I think that's really good that the dependency for Rod of Tahuti has been removed. Obviously, to make up for Rod, you have to buff a ton of other items, because Rod was what was making mage builds really good in the first place. So Doom Orb is completely getting changed. It is no longer that like stacking item that it used to be. Decrease the cost to 1,700. Super, super cheap item, basically like a bridge item, or like a power spike item like Stone of Binding, Gladiator Shield, Iqval, that type of stuff. Increased MP5 from 10 to 20, also a very big deal. You'll be able to spam your abilities. New passive, killing/assisting an enemy minion. This works on jungle and lane. Gives you 1 stack of Doom, granting you 1% movement speed and 3 power, and it stacks 5 times. So it is 5% movement speed and 15 power. I actually think this is a pretty good item. I think it's maybe... I don't think it's that great in a competitive setting, I don't think, because in team fights, this probably isn't going to be stacked, and it's not as good. But for farming, it's definitely a really good item. You get it super cheap, so it might be good on some characters. A good example would be Janice. It would just help you farm way quicker than you already were going to, which is already really fast. Maybe on Hebo, it helps you run around and farm quicker, and the MP5 could be really useful for you to spam. I think that type of stuff, it could be pretty good. I don't think it's OP, but it's definitely a cool change in my opinion. And then moving on to Telekind's Ring. So this is increased cost from 2,400 to 2,800. I'm pretty sure this is a typo. Currently on PTS, it's 2,000 gold. Maybe it is supposed to be 2,800. I'm not sure. I would assume it must be a typo, actually, but added 20% attack speed, your basic attack deal bonus damage of 10 plus 5% of your magical power. This effect does not hit structures, so basically it's just going to help you if you're an auto attacker. You're just going to deal a little bit more damage. And yeah, the old Telekind's wasn't really picked up at all. It was like, once you would like gain a magical power stack for every tick of damage you did to a god or something. It just wasn't as good. So I think this is a lot better. It helps auto attack in mages, and I think that's cool. Demonic Grip, increased power from 40 to 50, slight buff. Book of the Dead. This is actually a really, really big change. So previously, Book of the Dead worked where you would be lifestealing, and if you lifestealed above, you would like, if you were at 100% health, you could lifesteal above it, and you would gain a shield. I think for 200 health, it was either 200 or 400, I don't remember. But it was like 600 total health. Now, it is 200 mana, and you remove the lifesteal, and if you drop below 50% health, you gain a shield equal to 25% of your current mana. Shield lasts 6 seconds. This effect can only occur every 90 seconds. So mage items pretty much have a fuck ton of mana anyways, and the amount of mana they get is really high regardless. And if you build multiple items like Book of Thoth or Soul Reaver, or those items that give a ton of mana, Warlock Staff, Ethereal Staff, that type of stuff, then this shield could be absolutely massive. You could have like 2,000 mana easily, and then get, you know, 500 health as a shield. That could be a very realistic thing. So, pretty cool item in my opinion, and obviously the cost decrease. 2,600 gold is a lot easier to build than 2,800. Soul Gem, this is another item that I think is super cool. I haven't seen people picking it up that much, but I feel like it's actually pretty good. 65 magical power, 150 health, 12% lifesteal, 10% cooldown reduction. Every time you hit an enemy with an ability or basic attack, you gain 1 stack. At 5 stacks, your next ability will deal bonus damage equal to 25% of your magical power and heal yourself and allies for 25% of your magical power. So this is like a really cool, just minor heal in a team fight and a little bit of bonus damage. The stats on it offensively aren't that great. Like, lifesteal, CDR, and health are all utility stats, and then magical power. But for the most part, you would have to be using this as a burst item because it's bonus damage equal to 25% of your magical power. I'm not sure what characters this would be great on, or where you would fit it into your build. I would assume, like, whenever you hit an enemy with an ability, I'm assuming this doesn't work on ticks, so I don't think, like, if you're Anubis or Zhang Kui and you dot somebody and it goes above 5 ticks, I don't think it would apply multiple times. But I'm not positive on that. It's a little tricky to figure out when you would build it, but I do think it's a cool item and could be good in some situations. Typhon's Fang, this is another item that's been very popular on PTS. 2,800 gold, 100 magical power, 200 mana, 15% magical lifesteal. Your magical lifesteal from items is increased by 50%. Your magical power is increased by 100% of the amount of lifesteal you have. So, first off, when you finish this, it's your magical lifesteal from items is increased by 50. So 50% of 15 is 7.5. So this is 22.5% lifesteal for this item alone. If you build Bancrofts on top of this, I think you go to 45% total, because I think Bancrofts is also 15. I think Bancrofts is also 15 or something like that, and then 50% of that total 30 is then 15, so then it's 45, and then you gave 45 magical power. So basically, if you're building a lot of lifesteal, this item could be very good, and it seems like it's really strong. Magical lifesteal has definitely been a lot better in Season 5 than it was in previous seasons. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to do anti-tank items. Actually, I'll do anti-tank items here. I was going to say in a separate video, but these are pretty much some of the similar items. So, Obshard is going from being pretty much auto-built every single game, and you basically needed it, to being a little bit different. So first off, I think it doesn't apply to towers. I'm pretty sure I was told it doesn't apply to towers. Is there something in here about structures that I'm missing? I don't see. Could be wrong, but I remember hearing and being told that these items do not apply to towers anymore. Previously, that was... Or maybe it's because towers don't have prots. Whatever. Either way, you used to need Obshard and Titan's Bane no matter what, just to basically kill structures in Siege. That's no longer the case. These are purely anti-tank items, as it says, obviously. So, remove 33% magical penetration. Your magic damage ignores 20% of the target's magic prot. If the target has over 40 protection, this scales up, blah, blah. So basically what this is saying is, instead of being 33% magical pen flat, it's 20%, and then scales up, depending on how many prots they have, up to 45% at 175. So if they have 40 magical prots, it is 20%, and if they have 175, it's 45%, and it scales up throughout. And I think Titan's Bane has pretty much the same change. Yeah, it's the exact same change, except it doesn't go to 45, it goes to 40. And then for Ethereal Staff, your abilities deal an additional 3% of the target's maximum health as true damage. This is a big deal. This, I think, E-Staff Season 4 started as true damage and then went to magical damage. True damage is obviously much better. If the target has over 2,000 health, your ability bonus damage scales up. capping at 10% max health at 2750 HP target. So a tank, a warrior, or a guardian late game pretty much always has that much health, and to be able to do 10% true damage to them is pretty fucking nuts in my opinion, and it can only occur every 10 seconds. This makes tanks a lot easier to kill, like a ton. You also have items like Soul Reaver, and you have Obshard. So the ability to kill tanks, from my experience in the PTS, if you get CC'd in front of carries, or you're even a little bit out of position, you will die, like 100%. So these items are very strong. And then Kin Size, pretty much the same thing as E-Staff, but because they're basic attacks, it won't go up to 10%, and it's also not true damage, it's physical damage, and it goes from 3 to 5%, same health threshold, 2750. I guess we'll just keep going through items. Boots and shoes, increased cost from 300 to 500, so level 1, this is just affecting your start, so blessings, or starter items to blessings, was a 100 gold decrease from 800 to 700. This is now a 200 gold increase, so if you want to do a starter item plus boots, you're spending 100 gold than you used to be, so that's 2 less potions. Not a huge deal, but it can affect you depending on the character you're playing. Warrior Tabby, basically all the boots get a price increase. These go up by 50, Ninja Tabby go up by 50, Travelers go up by 200, and Talaria and Travelers basically have the same passive, so I'm going to go through these a lot just as a support main, and, you know, Travelers were picked up like 70% of the time as support, something like that. So, first off, 15 MP5. It used to have HP 5 when you were out of combat. I don't think MP5 is better. It's definitely just different, but for the early game and being able to farm, it is really nice. So I mentioned that on the Guardian Blessing, you would run out of mana pretty often. But if you go Guardian Blessing and then you rush Travelers like you used to, you will actually have more MP5 with this than you used to in the old one, and your sustain will be a little bit better. Your health sustain is overall worse, but you could also just buy like Health Chalice at level 1 and then you're not really going to care. Increased movement speed from 18 to 25%, and then you gain 20% additional movement speed after leaving the fountain. This effect lasts 7 seconds. So this is like a mini Swiftwing. I think Swiftwing used to be 40 at 15 seconds, so this is half of each of those. The big thing with these boots, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on them, and movement speed is really OP in my opinion, 25% static movement speed is actually a big deal. Like, having 7% movement speed in a team fight is a lot better than having the out of combat in Travelers, in my opinion. I think overall this is a slight nerf to Travelers, but these definitely aren't bad. I think the biggest nerf is actually the gold. Travelers used to be really nice to just be able to build them super quickly. But I think I would rather have 7% movement speed in team fights than I would 14% out of combat, which is what they used to be. And then being able to get out of base. This actually doesn't get you as far as you would think, but it is a nice little bonus. These are basically just move fast boots, and I think that they're pretty good. What you should really look at if you are a support and you're looking at your starter item and your boots combo is if you compare these to Season 4. In Season 4, your Traveler is giving you gold. I think that the passive on Guardian's Blessing, giving you the Midas Boots effect, is much better than the old Traveler's proc giving you gold. I think you just will gain more gold throughout the game from the Midas Boots type effect on Guardian's Blessing than you will on the old Traveler shoes. I think I would rather have this movement speed than the old one. The only huge nerf, in my opinion, is the 200 gold, and which is only, when you look at your starter plus your boots, it's only a 100 gold increase, and then losing the HP 5 and the health from Watchers is the main thing. So I think you're pretty much in the same spot. There's a couple differences, but I don't think these are trash. A lot of people have said they don't think they're that good, but I disagree. Shoes, these are just the magical version, same thing, 500 gold. Shoes of Focus, 50 gold more. Traveler shoes, 200 gold more, same stuff, and that's it. I'm going to split it off here and go into the stacking items and defense items in the next one.